2. All right, here we go. So, same picture. It says the measurement of UW is 2. The measurement of UX is Y. Write an expression for the measurement of line segment WX. So, we're not really missing anything. It's just understanding what you're writing. So, how long is the measurement of UW? 2. What is the measurement of UX? Y. Is that the first part, the second part of the whole thing? The whole thing is now Y long. So we have to be able to figure out what is the measurement of WX. It's still just X. So we need to write an expression, a formula to describe that line segment. How long is the first part? There you go. So we have no idea about how big X and Y are, but that is an accurate expression to describe those links. The first part is 2, the second part is X, the whole thing is Y, so 2 plus X equals Y. Cool? Yeah? No? Maybe? Is it going to get worse? Not really. Okay? This is our basic concept here. So let's jump into the next topic. What's the difference between this question and the last question? I'll give you a second to read it. On a number line, the coordinates A, B, C, and D are -6, -2, 3, and 7, respectively. Find the length of two segments and tell whether they are congruent or not.
There's no picture.
There is no picture. This is their first, there's no picture. What can you do?
Draw a picture.
Attempt to draw your own picture. So you need to draw a line. What do you need on that line? Points. Top or bottom? How are you going to do that?
Top.
A on here. A. B. C. D. Now what? So we got points A, B, C, and
The
D.
numbers.
Now we need the numbers.
A is -6.
A is at the point -6. B is at the point.
-2.
C is at the point.
3.
And D is at the point 7. Now these are yes or no questions. Is line segment AB and line segment CD the same size? It's a yes or no. So how long is AB?
4 units.
4. How long is CD? 4. So is 4 and 4 equal?
Yes.
4 and 4 congruent, that's just a yes. Is anybody struggling to figure out how we came up with the number 4? You feel okay with that? Alright, what about how long is AC?
9.
9? How long is BD? -9?
9.
Distance is always positive. 9? Are they the same size?
Yes.
Yes. Alright. How long is BC?
5.
5. How long is AD? Are they the same size? It's a no, right? That's a visual no. Is this little piece right here the same size as this long piece right here? That's a no. So it's no. So your first opportunity to actually create something and to write it out all by yourself. Boom. Big boom. This will haunt you the rest of the year. This one word, midpoint. Any idea what a midpoint is just by hearing the word? What you got?
That's the middle point.
It is a point in the middle. So when I say middle, that signifies something very, very important. Middle. When you hear the word middle, what do you think? The exact center. So a midpoint is in the exact center. So if x is the midpoint, and let's say that from w to x is 10, how far is it from x to y? If this length is 10, w to x, how long is this length?
10.
How do you know that?
Because it's the midpoint.
Because x is the midpoint. So x, the midpoint cuts the line in half. Half, 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 half. So if each piece is 10, how long is the whole line? 20. Alright, so that gives you the next weird one. It might not tell you anything, but x is the midpoint, and this whole line is 23. So if the whole line is 23, you should be able to figure out how big is the measurement of line segment WX.
11.5.
It's half of 23. This piece is 11.5. How long is this piece?
11.5.
It should always work. So when we have a midpoint, it cuts a line in half. That's it. That's what a midpoint does. So, let's try it. Look at that fun math there. It says C is the midpoint of line segment BE. What do you know about C right here?
It's midpoint.
So, in the last diagram, there was extra markings on there to denote that C was the midpoint. What were those little markings? We call them ticks or dashes. That means that this piece and this piece are exactly the same size. Period. It says that BC is t plus 1. I'm going to change that to an x. And it says that CE is 15 minus t. I'm going to change that to an x as well. Now, you guys have been learning the same thing over and over and over and over again, that the first part plus the second part equals the whole thing, right? Could you use that math here? The first part plus the second part equals the whole thing. Could you do that? No, because I have no idea how long the whole thing is. The only thing that I do know is that those two things are exactly the same size as each other. So when we have the term midpoint, we don't use the segment addition postulate. We just say that the first piece equals the second piece. And from this point on, math ensues. So you have to solve this algebraic expression. I want you guys to be very clear. If you can write this expression, the first part equals the second part, you've mastered the geometry part. Everything from there on is an algebra battle. So you have to be able to know how to solve that. And when you solve it, you get that x equals 7. And that should be a gift to you guys. X equals 7. No one cares that x equals 7, but x equals 7 drives the rest of the problem. What is 7 plus 1? 8. Now, what should happen over here? You should get 8. Can you just write 8 over there?
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it, because what if your x is wrong? So try it again. What's 15 minus 7?
8.
It does work. So when it does work and they are both the same size, you know you mathed correctly. So if the first part is 8 and the second part is 8, how long is the whole thing?
16.
16. Right? The first part's 8, the second part 8, the whole thing is 16. That gives you kind of a basis for what you're doing.
Is it always going to give you like what x equals?
Will it always give you what x?
Like for
No.
the test of you just have to figure out
So the test may say, what is the value of x? The test may ask you, what is the length of BC? The test may ask you, what is the length of BE?
So like if it says what is the value of x, it's not going to give you what that gave us. Like the t equals 7.
If the test asks, what is the value of x, it'll say A,
Oh,
x equals 7, B, x equals 8, C, x equals 9, and you would select that answer. You wouldn't have to plug it back in. So here it is. Uh-oh, the training wheels are off. Two things are going on here. A new term is introduced, the term midpoint, and they have subtracted a picture. So you must draw your own diagram, and you must use the word midpoint somewhere in there. So W is the midpoint of UV. What line segment do you draw? You draw UV. And W goes where?
In the middle.
Exactly in the middle, more or less. Now, what do we put on that line segment to make sure that we know that W is the midpoint? The little marks. I know for a fact that this piece and this piece are exactly the same size. Cool? So there's partial mastery of geometry. Now we're just going to plug in what we know. UW is x plus 23. Is that the first part, the second part,
First
or the
part.
whole thing? That's the first part. X plus 23. WV is 2x plus 8. First part, second part, whole thing.
Second part.
Second part. The question is asking for what? X. It only cares about what is x. So how do we solve that? Do we do the first part plus the second part equals the whole thing?
X plus 23 equals 2x plus 8.
We know that if W is a midpoint, that these two things are equal to each other. So I know, or I should know, or I should be learning that these two things are exactly equivalent to each other. So let's take a dive down the algebra hole real quick. There's 4 different ways to start this problem. How do you want to start it?
you start by doing the second part, like the second part.
I don't know what the second part
Add
is.
8 to 23.
What do you?
Subtract. I was gonna say subtract 8 on both sides.
You can subtract 8 on both sides. That would work. Is that the way everyone's going to start? Probably not. But that's what she said, so that's how we're going to do it. So we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. Because you started that way, there is only one way to continue. Subtracting 8 from both sides. X plus 15 equals 2x. Right? Did I do that right? Okay. Now there's only one way to continue. What do we have to do next?
Subtract x from each side.
Now we have to subtract x from each side. It doesn't, but a lot of people do it on accident. They just take away the x. They're like, okay, 2 minus x is just 2. It's, if you have 2 x's and you take 1 away, how many x's do you have left?
1.
1 x. And then guess what? You're done. It's weird, right? You guys come up with some really creative ways to solve algebra. So, do you trust your answer? Yeah. You do? Or do you want to take like 2 extra seconds to make sure you got it right? What is 15 plus 23?
38.
This piece is 38. Now what should happen if we did it right?
Then that should equal 15 times 2 is 30, in this case 30.
Perfect. Did it work? So we know, you absolutely know that you're correct. Now, the great thing about a multiple choice test is it will give you all the answers, A, B, C, D, E, whatever. Can you just plug your answer in and see which one makes it a midpoint all day? And you probably have a calculator to do that with, so it might be pretty quick. That's about as bad as it gets, guys, right there. That's the worst I can throw at you. Easy Monday? Too bad it's Tuesday. Let's try one more. Oh, that's the exact same problem. But now what is it asking?
What is WU?
Can I rewind? Can you go back to all the math we just did?
Yeah.
What is WU?
38.
Look at that. We did extra work and it ended up paying dividends in the long run. W is 38. Oh, man, this guy knows what he's doing, doesn't he? Alright. I think this is the last nasty one here. Z is the midpoint of line segment YA. If the measurement of line segment YZ is x plus 12, and the measurement of line segment ZA is 6x minus 13, what is the measurement of line segment YA? Step 1. Draw a picture. Draw a picture. And some of you guys will not draw pictures in your test, and I don't know why. It makes you think you're cheating. But I would never suspect that. What goes in the middle? Mark it as a midpoint. YZ is how long? That first part or the second part? First part. The measurement of line segment ZA is 6x minus 13. Second part. Do we know how long the whole thing is? No. Can we figure it out?
We should probably find out though.
We should. So how are we going to find out how long the whole thing is?
X plus.
Add 13 on one side.
So we did. Right now we just have a line segment with stuff on it.
X plus 12 equals 6x times 13.
So because it is a midpoint, these two things are equal to each other. This will happen time and time in midpoint. Okay? So now we have something we can solve, and you can do anything you want. There's a smart way, there's a hard way. How do you want to start? Add 13 to both sides is definitely acceptable. And then subtract x from both sides. You have 6 x's, you take 1 x away, how many x's do you have? 5 x's. And then
Divide by 5 on each side.
divide by the number next to the variable. So x equals
5.
cool, right? No credit there. Nobody cares about x.
We're looking for YA.
Yeah,
So add them together.
add them together. 7x minus 1.
Or not that.
Okay? What is 5 plus 12?
72.
30 minus 13. So YA is
17. 34.
34. Remember I said 7x minus 1? Where did I get that from? Anybody see where that came from? 7x minus 1? What's 1x plus 6x? What's positive 12 plus negative 13? So the whole line is 7x minus 1. If I plug a 5 in there, 35 minus 1 is 34. So it works that way as well. Crazy, right? Okay, and then here's the worst part of it. I'm about to say the F word. Fraction. This is not in your notes, but you might have a little bit of space on there. Fractional distance. When you hear the word fractional distance, what are you expecting to about to do?
Fraction.
Fractions. And fractions are your friends. Okay? It says points A, B, C, and D are at negative 10, negative 5, 0, and 10 respectively. So
Write a line.
draw a line. Okay. Now what? Label the points. Where is A? Where's B?
Negative 5.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna change that. Sorry. Otherwise, this probably would not make any sense. Cool. So it says point X is 2/5 the distance from A to C. So point X is 2/5 the distance from here
Negative 6.
to here. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
It is 2/5 the distance from A to C. Is that the same thing as saying 2/5 the distance from C to A?
No.
No, it's not. So direction matters here. Alright? So we have to figure out what is the distance from A to C? 10. Does that help?
Yes.
10. Now, point X is 2/5 the distance from A to C. So what do I need to find, or what is the process I should probably take to figure out where X is?
Divide 10 by 5.
Okay, so you're dividing 10 by 5, and that's going to give you what?
2.
2.
And then multiply 2.
So 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections of 2. That's right. That breaks it into 5 sections, fifths. I would probably just do this. I would multiply that whole distance times 2/5. Anybody do that? Know how to multiply fractions?
4.
10 times 2,
20.
1 times 5. What is 20 divided by 5?
4.
4. So the answer is 4, right?
Easier.
The answer is
4.
4. So X is over here.
No.
Wait.
You add 4 to negative 10. And you get
So I
negative
have to
6.
go back to negative 10. I have to move 2/5 the distance to 4. It's right here. Here's where X is. That's weird, right? It's super weird. It sucks. And I'm going to clean this up here in a second. So it is from A to X, the distance is 4, but what's the coordinate location of that? So we go to 10 and move over to the right, 4. So X is at negative 6. So same like fractional distance question. What point is halfway between A and D?
C.
C is, right? Y'all see that C is halfway between it? So if you do this the Baker long nasty way, from A to D is 20. What's half of 20? 10. So you go from A, you go 10 over, you wind up at C. Where it gets a little weird is when you have to figure out where that point is. So I'll give you guys one more of those. I'm going to change this. It's the same picture, I'm gonna change this to y. It says A, B, C, and D are at 10, -5, 0, and 10 respectively. Point y is 1/3 the distance from point B to point D. What is the coordinate of point y? So here's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna put B and D up there. I'm gonna eliminate a bunch of confusion. Where is point B? B is at -5. A point along the line. Where is point D? At 10. Y is 1/3 of the distance. So is y closer to B or closer to D? Y should be somewhere over here. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. I just cut that line into 3 pieces. Right? So what is the total distance from B to D? How far is it from
15.
-5 to 10? 15. And I want to find 1/3 of that. So I multiply it by the distance, 1/3.
Or just
15 times 1, 5. So from here to here is 5 units. So where is y? 0. Go another 5. Where is this point?
5.
Go another third. Where is that point? 10. So you're just cutting it into pieces. On your test, the numbers are pretty easy. It's like 50. And it says A is 2/5 from B to D. So how many, if you cut 50 into fifths, what do you get? 10, 10, 10, 10. So you just go plus 10, plus 10, so you're 20 from here to here. Alright, that's kind of the main thing. So you guess what? A blank screen, which signifies Baker's done. Okay, that's it. So the rest of the week looks like this. We're gonna start tackling